And welcome back to Wake Up Call from the Gunco Arms Studios. I'm Mike Hendren, your host. In the studio with me now, Eydin Hanson. He is the Vice President of the Texas Hog Hunters Association. Good morning, Eydin.
Good morning. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing real good. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
So what is happening? You and I talked a couple of weeks ago about this on the show. Sid Miller, the Texas Ag Commissioner,
correct,
has come up with a plan to deal with the feral hog population by poisoning the hogs.
Right.
And I think most of us agree this is an incredibly stupid idea. But there's been a lot of back and forth about the implications of doing this. A lot of serious environmental implications, health implications, potential dangers for other wildlife and humans as well. And you and the Texas Hog Hunters Association and a lot of other groups,
Wild Boar Meat Company too,
yes, have all come together to fight this. And in fact, you found yourself working side by side with groups that normally probably wouldn't be on your side, right?
That's correct. We actually went down Sunday. I drove down to Austin, and we actually went down and worked in the Capitol with both Democrats and Republicans to fight this feral hog issue.
Yeah.
We've got full support from pretty much, if you look on the Democrat side, we got full support from them and a majority of the Republican side. And all that we're really asking on the back end of this is just to make sure that, hey, let's study and see what the long-term effect of this is. We don't know what the effect is in the long run, because all this science information that's out there, even the stuff that Sid brought back to us, was all based on science that the company that makes the product presented to him. Well, the EPA actually put out warnings on there, and there's secondary poisoning warnings where, you know, if a buzzard or a coyote or even your family dog goes out there and eats it. The bill itself was actually put together with Representative Stuckey, and he actually is a veterinarian, and so he actually put the bill together, and we've got both of them there, a bill in the House and the Senate that people can go take a look at now.
Yeah, House Bill 3451, and I'm trying to find the Senate bill too. I'm having to look at this on my phone because I couldn't get it to go to my. It's Senate Bill 1454,
right,
as well. So two bills that now these are ready to go to a vote, or are we there yet?
Yeah, so there's a long process in this. You have to, number one, you have to get the bill. There has to be an author of the bill or somebody who's going to sponsor the bill. Then you get co-sponsors that come in on the other side of it. And you know, we made sure we did this correct and on both sides of the Senate and the House, both for Republican and.
So what step in the process are you at right now?
So we've got the bill, the language done. It went through legislative review, which is where they make all the language correct.
Right.
And then on top of that, we went from the legislative review. It came back. It was actually sponsored and signed. You know, Stuckey pushed us up. And as it went from that point, now we're just essentially waiting on, now that we have a bill in both the Senate and the House, we're just waiting for this bill to go through the commission side. So what they'll do is when they find the commission portion of it, they'll set that up, and then it has to get on the calendar, and then the Speaker of the House has to grab it and go through it. So, I mean, we've done in 3 days what I thought was almost impossible going down there, but the support has just been so huge from all of our great representatives in the state.
Right. And again, you've had a lot of support from groups that normally hog hunters or hunters in general wouldn't get support from.
Right.
Because this is an issue that affects a lot of different people, a lot of wildlife, potentially in a lot of different ways. Now, the gist of what's happening here is Commissioner Miller is promoting the use of a product called Kaput. And it is a poison that uses warfarin, which is normally used in humans for blood thinner.
Coumadin is what we know it is.
Right. And the idea is to put out these feeders that will be full of Kaput, that the hogs will go and eat. They'll consume it. It's it's a blood thinner. It's an anticoagulant.
Right.
They're going to bleed to death internally. But the other side of this is
through the lungs, though, for an ethical.
Yeah.
This is not an ethical way to take out an animal. You know, if you're hunting the animal and you shoot it, it drops to the ground, it goes down. This can take anywhere. You know, if you look up to 9 days, and in some cases we've even seen, you know, information that where it can go 20 to 30 days.
Wow.
Depending if the animal's resistant to it. So one of our challenges, if you think about it, so that if they eat the kaput, which is supposed to be in a special container that only hogs can get into, which I find that impossible because raccoons are little rascals.
Yes.
If they eat this stuff, and you have to train them to come to this bait station. So you have to put the bait station out, train them to come into this bait station. Once they're all there and you start getting the amount that you need after a certain period of time based on the way they're supposed to do it, then you can start introducing the poison. You know, one of our simple arguments is if you're going to bring them there anyways, why not just shut the trap door?
Exactly.
That now you have live hogs, which you can now take to a processing plant.
Exactly.
And you can sell them off. Once they're poisoned, then nobody can do anything with them.
So let's talk about that. The implications of using this stuff. Exactly what those are. Obviously, these hogs, they're going to consume this stuff, as you just said. Not a very humane way to take out the hogs, considering the length of time it could take them to die.
Right.
Whereas a hunter shoots this hog through the head, through the heart, they're down like that. They're dead just like that. So, but aside from that, there's other wide-ranging, possibly health and ecological implications to this, right?
Right.
So let's talk about those for a minute here.
So
as far as let's say these animals go off, they die, they're going to contaminate water, other food supplies, whatever.
Right. So if the animal goes up and they eat the poison,
right,
and they've eaten enough of it, animals that when they're injured, you know, pretty much I've been hunting hogs my whole life since I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
So if this animal gets sick, if you injure it, if you hit it with an arrow or something like that or whatever, it's going to run to water. They know that when they get sick, we need to go to water. And most of the time you can find your animals over in that area. Well, the same thing, if they eat this poison, they start getting sick, they're going to go to water. And if they die in the water, not to mention the poison in and of itself, but a dead hog, rotting carcass floating around in the water over a long period of time is going to contaminate the source anyways.
Right.
And I think our one of the biggest things that we see now, that there's a huge legal aspect to this, because the fact that if the hog comes over and eats the poison and goes and dies on someone else's property,
right,
now you have trespassing and a nuisance issue there from the legal side. And there's tons of lawyers ready to go on that. So if and you have to post signs. So if you start the poison, everyone's going to know you're doing it. And those hogs over a period of 9 days could really die anywhere. It may be on your property or maybe not. Now, if it dies on your property, you have to bury that thing 18 inches deep in the ground. So if you had like a 20-acre lot and you don't have a backhoe or something like that to bury it, get out your shovel.
Yeah. If you've never tried to dig an 18-inch deep hole in Texas soil in the summer,
right,
you just haven't lived yet.
Right.
You're lucky if you can get 8 inches into the ground without breaking your back.
Right. And red clay up here, I wouldn't even want to do it.
Oh, without heavy equipment, it's back-breaking work. At a minimum, it is that.
So we've had a lot of the animal rights groups just jump on board with us, and they were like, hey, they said, we know this is not a hunting issue because the bill is proposed specifically towards poisoning. It doesn't cover hunting or anything else like that. Right. We know those are the management methods. They do too.
What gave the commissioner the idea that this was a great idea in the first place? I mean, where did this come from?
Well, he originally made this decision based on an emergency ruling. So he did an emergency, called it under an emergency statute, which allows him to put it into place right then. But there's no state of emergency declared. So we sued him 2 weeks ago and won. And so that stopped it. We have it stopped until March 31st. Which now we have the bill and all that stuff in place, which is going to be fine. We can get that pushed out to the floor, and there'll be a vote that goes to it.
All right.
But it shut him down right from the very beginning. Now, and he'll hear his argument. He'll come back and say, now anybody can use this. But I don't think on the legal aspect that anyone would even want to take that. You could have a possibility of 5 of your neighbors suing you for poisoned hogs all over your property. It's not a good thing.
The more I read about this, the more I hear about this poison, the less I like it. I didn't like it to start with. I like it even less today. Eydin, let's talk a little bit about the other side of this too, is people with livestock, cattle or horses or sheep or goats or whatever kind of livestock they got on their property. Obviously, if one of these hogs dies on their property and some of your livestock tries to consume that remains of that animal,
right,
or in some form or another comes in contact with it, or even the water becomes contaminated on your property by this dead hog, and then your livestock consume it, it seems to me there could be some serious implications there as well.
There is. And one of the things that we talked to the legislatures about, I said, and I can put this, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Imagine if one blue cow, because it stains the fat when they're eating this poison, there's, warfarin in and of itself does not have a dye in it. But the they put a dye in the caking that goes around the warfarin. There's essentially a little sliver of poison in the middle. It's by the way, it's 1/5 of the dosing they use to kill rats. So they're going to have to eat a lot of this stuff. So there's a combination of all this. But so if they eat this thing, it will actually dye the fat of the animal that's eating it. Right. So imagine if a cow gets into this thing, because raccoons, we know whatever it is, or whatever banner, if someone was irresponsible in their use of this. Sure. If one cow left the state and went somewhere else to be processed, and they opened up that cow and you found blue fat inside of that, the cattle industry in Texas would be done. Exactly. I mean, it'd be mad cow all over again. Yeah. And it's really not a scare that we need to have, because right now you can't even buy this stuff in the state. If people out there, if they find out, we need to know, because we'll go after them. Because right now Kaput has not released it. We actually have information letters from Kaput basically saying that they're not even selling it in the state, and that Sid Miller actually released this a little earlier than they were prepared for, because the implementation wasn't supposed to start until May anyways. Right. But, if you're a goat rancher, and, goats can get into just about anything also, and they eat anything. Can. Yes, they do. So any of these industries that are covered here, which has a cascading effect, even on the hunting side, we have, it's $1 billion industry bringing people into Texas to hunt deer and hogs. That's something else I want to get into also, this is the new cash crop in Texas. Hog hunting. Right. It really is a cash crop. And a lot of landowners make money charging guys to come onto their property and hunt. Right. There's a, like, as you said, $1 billion industry at stake here. But it's so much more humane, going back to that aspect of it, to just kill the hog than to poison them, because they're going to eat pounds and pounds of this stuff. Right. They claim it's you can kill 10 hogs with basically 100 pounds or somewhere in there, or a bag. I think it's like 50 pounds roughly, but whatever it is, 5 or 10 pounds of the material they have to eat, and then it takes them like 9 days to die over a period of time, where they bleed out through the lungs. And so if you take it from the cattle industry side, think of this. So one of our biggest challenges is brucella, and that can be transferred from pigs through with like mucus, and that kind of stuff can be transferred directly to cattle. Yes. So you have a hog that's walking around bleeding out of its nose for 9 days, and they go straight to the cattle troughs and look for leftovers. Right. If they go by the grain yards, if they get into the dairies or whatever it is, they go by there. And I even hunted on a piece of land that was next to a dairy. Those are all those things. You can start having a cascading effect of it can even compound those problems later on. So the serious implications here, to me, the health implications for livestock, for the wildlife, for humans even, seems to totally outweigh the use of this. But yet Commissioner Miller has been very adamant. And in fact, he contacted you personally, did he not? Yes. He called me on my cell phone and said I should read the background sheet on the material. And I said, well, sir, you wrote the background sheet on this. You and your staff wrote this background sheet. He goes, well, that was based off of science. And he said, yes. And I said, well, let me see the science behind it. He goes, well, you can look that up at Sciametrics, which is the company that makes Kaput. And I was like, well, this doesn't smell good overall. Yeah. I mean, that's one of our... That doesn't really smack of science. It doesn't smack of science to me. Yeah, so, no. If you can get it down, initially we thought there was a study done out of A&M. We tried to find the study, and A&M says we did not do a study. There's not the money side of it. But they're, we're putting this bill into place to make sure that before they ever do anything like this, we get long-term studies, find out what that information is. There may be better options that are out there. Right. If they're going to use some sort of poisoning, I guess, if you will. We ultimately don't want any poisoning. Right. But if the ranchers need help, if you have a hog problem or an issue, we have multiple avenues to take care of that. Helicopter hog hunting is free to the landowner. Right. They just and I know there are landowners out there that don't allow people to come onto their property and hunt. Right. For one reason or another. I would rather see this state, and this may have to be done on a county by county basis, I'd rather see us do something like offer some sort of tax incentive, property tax incentive to a landowner. If you'll allow X number of hunters per year to come onto your property and hunt these hogs to help lower the population, we'll give you some tax breaks on your property. I'd rather see us do something like that makes far more sense. It's much more humane and makes much more sense for the landowner and the hunter than putting a big tub of poison out there that God knows what's going to get into it, and then the hogs are going to go away and die and rot and contaminate who knows what. Right. This whole thing with this poison is very scary to me.
How does the general public help you and help the Hog Hunters Association and all these other groups involved?
We've got, and I'll bring up we've got websites that just been going crazy right now, trying to set up stuff so that we can, I got Sierra Club contacting me right now. So
There you go.
Texans for Responsible Hog Management.com. We have a petition there. So it's www.texansforresponsiblehogmanagement.com. And I'll give that to you. You can put it on the site.
Yes.
We're going to have we've got folks working on this. Again, this is a huge legal battle. So we'll have donations if they want to make it on there. And, you don't have to donate a lot, just $5 here and there.
Right.
It's going to help everybody go through as we work through it. But on top of that, we're going to have more information out there for you and support you. And what if you do find something that's out there? If you do find a hog that's blue or whatever, it shows up on your property. If for some reason someone gets a hold of stuff and uses it irresponsibly,
Right.
And doesn't have all the safeguards in place, we've got a lot of folks out there to support those folks on both sides, Republican and Democrat.
Well, we're going to stay in touch with you and follow the legislative process on these bills.
Great.
And hopefully that goes through quickly and we can move forward with this. And we'll have you back on the program soon to talk about the progress and where we are in this process and, how people can get involved in a hog hunt. I know you guys, there's all kinds of organized hunts out here that go on all the time.
Right.
And, hunters can get involved with a group and go out and...
We're actually going to put on a hog
hogs. contest
here, a hog hunting contest. And what we really want to do is battle Oklahoma, because Oklahoma's always talking about it. So it'll be the Red River shootout. But
Oklahoma, you think you got a hog problem. You ain't seen a hog problem until you've seen our hog problem.
It is, everything's bigger in Texas. So and the benefit is everybody brings all their hogs in. We'll pick them all right up right there, put them in freezers, and we'll utilize them. So there's a lot of ways to put this stuff out here. But I really appreciate your time. And go check us out on Texas HHA, and that's for Texas Hog Hunters Association.com.
Terrific.
So TexasHHA.com.
All right.
And it's great.
Eydin Hanson, thanks very much for being here this morning.
I love this state, and we're going to help the people. So
all right.
thank you.
Terrific.